It is my honor now to give the floor to His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs of the Sultanate of Oman.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, Your Excellency President Tijani Mohammed Bandi, allow me at the outset to extend my warmest congratulations to you and to your brotherly country, Nigeria, on your election as President of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I assure you that the delegation of the Sultanate of Oman will give its full support and cooperation to Your Excellency to ensure the success of this session. We express our appreciation to your predecessor, Her Excellency Ms. Maria Fernandez Garces, President of the 73rd session of the General Assembly, for the manner in which she steered the work of the previous session and for her accomplishments during her tenure. I would like to seize this opportunity to commend the efforts of the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, in strengthening the role of the organization and developing its mechanisms. Mr. President, the United Nations is mandated with certain tasks. Foremost among them is maintaining international peace and security, confronting international challenges and conflicts, and working intensely to settle disputes through preventive diplomacy, deploying efforts to achieve peace and security and stability in the world, promoting confidence-building measures, and resolving differences by diplomatic means, as stipulated in the UN Charter. My country firmly believes that dialogue and negotiations are the most suitable means of resolving differences. We have always confirmed that the Sultanate of Oman, just like other countries, will spare no efforts in support of regional and international initiatives that will help achieve peace and promote a culture of security and stability in the region. Mr. President, we in the Sultanate of Oman believe that peace is a central building block for stability and sustainable development. As such, we hope that international relations will relaunch on a new footing, in line with the principles of good neighborliness, respect for national sovereignty, and non-interference in the internal affairs of other states, to build a world of justice, fairness, coexistence, and tolerance for all, a world where all can enjoy prosperity, security, and stability. Peace in the Middle East has become a critical, an urgent demand. It is high time to put out the fires in the region. These raging fires constitute a threat to international peace and security and an enormous economic, social, and security challenge for the people of the region. They have created numerous problems, including violence, extremism, terrorism, and a continued wave of displacement and migration to different parts of the world. We believe that the United Nations and the international community must take serious action towards regional and international consensus building and must support peaceful efforts to end the instability in the region. We also call from this platform on all disputing parties to look to the future and rise above their differences, to prioritize supreme national interests and adopt political and diplomatic approaches that maintain the unity and cohesion of countries and the dignity, security, and decent livelihood of peoples. In this respect, we welcome the peaceful political agreements reached in the Republic of the Sudan and the signing of the documents to establish the Transitional Civilian Authority, which would contribute to realizing peace, security, and stability for the brotherly people of the Sudan. We also highly commend regional mediation efforts, which helped Sudanese parties reach such national reconciliation and achievements. Mr. President, the Sultanate of Oman is concerned with maritime traffic and navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, since Oman is one of the countries bordering the strait, which is considered one of the most important international waterways. As a matter of fact, some of the waterways of Hormuz are within Oman's territorial waters. For this reason, and given Oman's national policies and international responsibilities towards ensuring the safety of maritime traffic and passing vessels, the Sultanate of Oman is calling on all countries to cooperate constructively and respect navigational separation lines in accordance with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, particularly Articles 37 and 38, which stipulate the right to continue transit, and Article 39, which specifies the duties of vessels in transit. Moreover, my country calls on all parties to avoid escalation and to resolve differences through diplomatic means, which would spare the region any repercussions that may have dangerous echoes on the freedom of navigation and international trade, as well as the world's economy. We believe that the international community and those states with interests in using the strait must strive to find peaceful compromises as the ideal means to maintain the stability and safety of maritime navigation, which we believe is more secure and effective than any other means or arrangements. Mr. President, the ongoing conflict in Yemen and the failure of the warring parties to reach a political agreement to end it has led to a tragic humanitarian, economic, and social situation for the Yemenis, unprecedented in its history. Such a situation compels us all to double our political and diplomatic efforts and our humanitarian efforts to help Yemen end the state of war and armed conflict, which is becoming ever more complex. The Sultanate of Oman supports all efforts which aim to reach a political solution in Yemen, in particular the efforts of the United Nations and the Special Envoy of the Secretary General for Yemen, Mr. Martin Griffith. We call on all parties to cooperate and to positively engage in facilitating such efforts. Emphasis during the next phase must be on the political path to reach a political settlement that would ensure the security and stability for Yemen and that would maintain the security and the interests of neighboring countries. We call from this rostrum on all Yemeni parties to give priority to the supreme national interest of Yemen. We urge Yemeni political leaders to take the initiative to end this conflict for the sake of Yemen and its people. We also call upon regional countries and the international community to support the efforts aimed at restoring peace and stability in Yemen in particular and the region in general. Given our geographical proximity and deep historical, social, and cultural ties with Yemen, the Sultanate of Oman stresses that the facilities and humanitarian assistance provided by Oman to the brotherly Yemeni people will continue. We call on the international community and all parties concerned to adopt a serious humanitarian project that would enable humanitarian access to all Yemeni regions and province without exception or impediments, while facilitating the use of all ports, airports, and entry and exit points for this noble humanitarian objective. Mr. President, the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state, an independent state with East Jerusalem as its capital, is a compelling need to achieve peace, stability, and peaceful coexistence. Therefore, an integrated vision for the special relations between the Palestinian and Israeli parties and neighboring countries must be formulated, based on promoting the values of peace, coexistence, and common interests between all the peoples of the region to deliver security, peace, and economic prosperity for all. We believe that failure to establish a Palestinian state would result in continued violence and terror. We call on all relevant parties to create the necessary conditions to help end this 70-year-long conflict. This is necessary to build a stable and prosperous new Middle East. Based on our principled position in support of peace and stabilization in the region, we in the Sultanate of Oman are ready to make every effort and to cooperate with all international parties to restore and resume negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis, and to support efforts leading towards an agreement on the two-state solution, which would contribute to security and stability in the region. Mr. President, sustainable development is one of the most important pillars of our futuristic vision and consecutive 5-year development plans. That philosophy is deemed an extension of the values and principles of sustainability for lasting equality, justice, and peace in the Omani society, which is evidently reflected in the basic law of the state. For that matter, my country has been an active partner in all international and regional forums, deliberations, and dialogues that resulted in the declaration of the Sustainable Development Goals. Oman has sought to interpret its international obligations to achieve those goals by setting up long-term policies and strategies, mid-term and short-term plans, and programs that have become a fundamental pillar of the 9th 5-year plan for the period 2016-2020 and also Oman's Vision 2040. Therefore, my country submitted its first voluntary national review last July on the SDGs, which was praised by all, given the positive development indicators in the Sultanate of Oman. In closing, Mr. President, my country calls once again on all countries of the world to adhere to the principles of the UN Charter and international law to resolve differences in peaceful and diplomatic means. We also call for giving a bigger role to the United Nations and regional and international organizations to resolve disputes, consolidate international peace and security, and promote a culture of peace and tolerance. To spare humankind the scourge of war and conflict that undermine the aspirations of people to peace, stability, well-being, and prosperity. Thank you, Mr. President.
أشكر معالي الأستاذ يوسف.
I thank His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdallah, the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs of Oman.